G'day, Rockhound here. Welcome to Mavericks Proving Grounds news. It's been a busy week in the Mavericks world with the release of the official game trailer just a few days ago at the E3 Expo, followed by a frenzy of activity as people signed up for the free closed beta, which begins in October. However, a few moments after registrations opened up, the new Mavericks website went down as 30,000 people tried to register at once. The dev team got it back up and running pretty quickly though, and the 100,000 spots that were available for the free closed beta filled up in less than 2 days, with total registrations now standing at over 130,000. Don't worry if you missed out on being one of that first 100,000 though. You can still register and purchase a Founders Pack for around $30, which will give you exclusive access to an early closed beta towards the end of August, as well as the extended closed beta in October. The Founders Packs are limited to 50,000, and the revenue that the game's developers Automaton receive from the packs will go straight into developing the game. As well as early closed beta access, the Founders Packs will provide you with 12 months citizenship, which allows you to have cosmetic progressions in the game, and this alone is worth $60 when the game launches. There are other things included with the Founders Packs, so go onto the Mavericks website to check those out if you're interested. If you prefer not to purchase the Founders Pack, you can still sign up to receive your display name on the Mavericks website, and even though you might not have access to the closed beta, you'll receive an E3 exclusive content pack as long as you sign up before June 17. The Mavericks Discord community has also been abuzz with questions about the game, as well as arguments over things like which is better, pineapple on pizza or cherries on pizza. So be sure to drop in and join the chat. The devs drop in from time to time to answer questions, and you'll find me in there as well quite a bit, so call in and say hi. Okay, pizza arguments aside, an interview was streamed from E3 with Automaton CEO James Thompson, along with Bill Roper, Chief Creative Officer at Improbable, who are the company providing Automaton with the Spatial OS software that will allow Mavericks games to run on multiple servers at the same time, which in turn the devs say will provide smoother gameplay, better anti-cheat technology, and allow for up to 1,000 players or more in a single game. This was a really good interview and explained many of the things that set Mavericks apart from other games in the Battle Royale genre, and we also got some new footage of the Mavericks map environment as well as some new gameplay, which we'll take a very close look at shortly. During the interview, James reiterated that Mavericks isn't going to be a case of leaping into a session of Battle Royale from a menu, but that it will be a much more immersive game where ongoing progression within a persistent world is important and where in-game achievements are represented on your character. You can also walk around the social hub called Capital Island and trade with other players, go to shops, and James even mentioned that there would be auction houses within the game, so you can potentially bid on your favourite items using in-game money known as bits. You're also going to be able to walk out of Capital Island and explore the entire open world that is the Isle of Dern, as well as risking items in that world. So there's going to be a much broader context to the game than we've seen with any other Battle Royale game to date. James also talked a bit about the way players will leave their mark on the world so that they can be detected. And these include destroying buildings, bending grass as you walk through it, leaving footprint trails that are in turn affected by the weather, wounded players leaving blood trails or bandage wrappers behind, and players disrupting wildlife like flocks of birds flying away when you get close to them. That means that confrontations within the game are less about players randomly bumping into each other and more about players making informed decisions based on what they've seen in the world and then deciding to either stalk or avoid other players. Customization of characters was also discussed, and this will include both clothing and items that overlay them, which are earned in-game, and all of which will be unique to one of the 4 in-game factions that you choose to belong to. If none of the 4 factions take your fancy, you can also choose to join the capital forces that manage Capital Island. The factions will become more important in the open world as the MMORPG part of the game is developed going into 2019. James also said that the map will develop as the MMORPG part of the game becomes more and more important going into the future. Now let's take a look at the Mavericks environment footage and gameplay that was shown during the interview, where we see some new parts of the island environment and some new additions to gameplay. The opening shot shows us more of the capital and includes dynamic weather as it starts to rain, leaving puddles in the street. We then move to an open forest area and see a fog effect introduced, followed by the day cycle quickly moving into night time, which looks great. Night mode for this game looks really good so far. We then pan across the countryside. I'm really pleased to see the use of gullies and landscape depressions crisscrossing the countryside, something that in a previous video I had talked about as being a key distinct feature of the real Scottish landscape that the Mavericks map takes inspiration from. I think these landforms will really allow strategic use of the environment when you're moving through it, as well as allowing the landscape to look completely natural. I also like the variation of forest through here, from quite open areas to quite dense areas of trees that you'll struggle to see people in. We also get another look at a tower here, and you can see ladders on the upper part of it, hopefully meaning that they are scalable, allowing for sniping opportunities. We see the effect of heavy rain here, which will reduce long distance vision, but may actually make players nearby stand out more as they become silhouettes on the ridgetops. Also, commercial forestry machinery here seems to be the main static vehicle that we've seen so far. Okay, we're about to see some new gunplay footage. But before I show you that footage, I think it's important to bring you up to date with where the developers are at with character animations, and talk a little bit about what our expectations are as players around that. In the official Mavericks trailer, we saw very fluid character movements, and those were created with the use of a motion capture suit that the animators are now using. According to the devs, the character animations you're about to see were all created prior to the use of that motion capture suit. So these animations are not going to be anything at all like the finished product, which is a good thing, because you'll see that the movements and gunplay are still quite clunky. Showing gameplay footage at this stage of a game's development is always a bit of a double-edged sword for developers, because there are some things that will look polished and then some things that don't look good at all. As players, we're always desperate to see new gameplay because it's exciting to see anything for an upcoming game. However, it's also easy for us to slip into harshly critiquing pre-alpha footage because what we actually want to be watching is the finished product. In addition, one of Automaton's developers, Rob, mentioned in the Mavericks Discord that what their end goal is as an animation team is to try and achieve character animations similar to those seen in Battlefield, which won't be easy, but would be awesome if they can do it. To further put the current footage we have into perspective on this, take a look at this footage from pre-alpha PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds from 2 years ago, and then keep this in the back of your mind as you watch the upcoming Mavericks footage. Needless to say, I'm not going to talk much about the animations yet. Okay, let's watch the Mavericks footage. I'll play it right through and then I'll go back and take a close look at some details that you might have missed. Right, let's take a much closer look at the gameplay. In this first shot, we get a good look at the UI. The compass at the top is very clear and always shows a bearing in bold, so calling out the direction you're facing to your teammates should be very easy. On the left, we have a mini-map. The top left indicator is the number of kills. This one is the number of players remaining, and in a normal game of Battle Royale, these two indicators would show the time until the circle closes and whether you are safe inside the circle or not. On the right side of the UI, we see there are two primary weapons, in this case an SMG and an M14 rifle, which is currently being used, and a pistol as a secondary weapon. There doesn't appear to be any melee weapons or grenades shown on the current UI. Healing is shown here and shows in a green colour later in the footage, presumably indicating that there are bandages available to use. It uses the H key as its key binding, and then the symbol below this is still hard to decipher, but has the tab key shown as its key binding, so maybe this is for inventory or the backpack. To the left of the health bar are the number of rounds remaining in the weapon and overall ammo remaining, as well as the ammo type. Armor status is shown at the bottom. Overall, I like the layout of the UI. It's simple, neat, and doesn't distract too much. The player in this first shot takes some hits, each of which is a body shot, and each registers a health loss of 32 points, making 4 shots to kill for body shots, which is comparable to assault rifles in PUBG, assuming that's what his opponent is firing. The blood splatter on the periphery of the screen seems to work pretty well too. In this next shot, we get a good look at Capital Island from a distance, along with the bridge that leads out of it. We can see in the UI here that armor is shown for the first time, and it also has points showing what condition it's in. We can see the bandage icon is coloured green, and interestingly the ammo indicator here shows an infinity symbol, which perhaps suggests that there might be a custom game mode where there's limitless ammo. Alternatively, this might have just been set up for some gameplay at E3. Here we get a clear look at the hit markers that have now been added alongside the crosshair. The crosshairs also seem to be gun specific as they change with weapon types through the video. We get an elevated view of a logging camp in this shot, which is the same area that we saw on fire and at night time in the official trailer. It looks like the landscape in the background is still to be completed. Up to this point, the main gameplay we've seen has been from an area known as the Nature Reserve, which surrounds Capital Island, and as the remainder of the island is still being worked on from the team, we haven't seen much of that yet. Here we see two players from different factions, the Circle of Lazarus on the left and the Syndicate on the right, playing together as a duo. We also see mist shots kicking up dust from the ground here, although this is probably an early animation of that feature. The player switches to a sidearm and the crosshairs change accordingly. Now the opposing player appears to run into an object on the ground, possibly a pipe or a barrel, which rolls away from him and eventually collides with our player, who in turn moves it along the ground. So we're starting to see some of the immersive interaction with the environment here, which is really neat. In the background of this shot, we can see that there is a substantial mountain on the island, rising well above the tree line, and that's going to give us some pretty diverse terrain. Okay, that's it for the latest in-game footage. What did you think of what you've seen today of the environment and gunplay? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like, and if you'd like to support this channel and get the latest Mavericks news and in-depth analysis, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.